Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, some big developments in the Nancy Guthrie case. We're going to talk about those. Also on the ground in Minneapolis, this has been incredible. In the last 48 hours, there were all these anti-ICE checkpoints set up by protesters. Anti-ICE barricades being set up by protesters, asking for ID from those driving by, saying, hey, are you ICE agents? Because if you are, you're not allowed in, or we want to stop you, or swarm your vehicle, or dox your family. This is really just so un-American and so shocking, and it just shows how that city needs to get under control. And that Democratic mayor and that Democratic governor need to start cracking down and bringing law and order. Can you imagine individuals on their own, citizens, protesters, setting up checkpoints saying, do you have an ID? Can you show us that you're ICE or you're not ICE? Like vetting individuals going through? What kind of society are we living in that they feel emboldened to be able to do that? Well, obviously, in Jacob Fry's Minneapolis and Tim Walz's Minnesota, they seem to think they can get away with it. Here is also President Trump, because he spoke a little bit ago, and he was asked in an interview with NBC News. It's interesting because the word came out today, 700 less federal officers will be in Minneapolis. Tom Homan announced that, saying we're going to move some back. We're hoping to get some cooperation with city and state. And he essentially said, now it's up to you, Jacob Fry. Now it's up to you, Tim Walz, to do your part to bring law and order to your city and state. And President Trump, in this interview with Tom Yamas of NBC, was asked, did you learn something in this experience with all the craziness that's been happening out of Minneapolis? And President Trump, always honest, always speaking from the heart. Here's what he had to say. Take a listen.
Speaking of Minneapolis, what did you learn?
I learned that maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hard criminals. But look, I've called the people. I've called the governor. I've called the mayor, spoke to them, had great conversations with them. And then I see them ranting and raving out there, literally as though a call wasn't made.
I love Donald Trump because he calls them out. He says, yeah, they're very nice to me on the phone. And then the minute they hang up, they go, too bad. And that's essentially what happened today. Tom Homan comes out and he announces that there's going to be 700. That's a lot of federal officers, that they're dwindling down the numbers there in Minneapolis. He said, we're not leaving. We're not giving up. We're still doing mass deportations. We're just going to be very targeted on the criminals. And we're going to try to make an attempt to bring down the temperature there in Minneapolis. And what does Jacob Fry do? He comes right back on and says, too bad, that's not enough. That the whole operation needs to be shut down, that it can't just be 700. That's not good enough for Jacob Fry. That's not good enough for these fanatics. They need to go full throttle. In other words, he's saying a full shutdown of Operation Metro Surge, which is what that operation is there in Minneapolis. He wouldn't even give Tom Homan any credit. It's like, oh, that's fine, but that's just a drop in the bucket. What we really need is for them to get out. There is no middle ground with the far, far left. Meantime, here's President Trump. He was asked also in that NBC interview, what do you make of Renee Good, who was, remember, shot by that agent when she looks like she stepped on the gas there with the vehicle? And what do you make of Alex Preddy, who was surrounded by Customs and Border Protection and then was shot during that incident? Two of them obviously died with encounters tied to law enforcement, all right? So here it is. Here's President Trump. And again, speaking from the heart. Take a listen.
After the shooting of Renee Good, you said ICE made some mistakes. What were the mistakes?
Well, look, I'm not happy with the two incidents. It's not, it's both of them, not one or the other. He was not an angel, and she was not an angel. You look at some tapes from back, but still, I'm not happy with what happened there. Nobody could be happy, and ICE wasn't happy either. But I'm going to always be with our great people of law enforcement, ICE, police. We have to back them. If we don't back them, we don't have a country.
You mentioned Renee Good and Alex Peretti not being angels. Do you think any of that justified what happened to them, though?
No, I don't. It should have not happened. It was a very sad, to me, it was a very sad incident, two incidents. And, they mentioned the one now, they don't mention the other. Well, I think they were both sad. And who feels worse about it than anybody? The people of ICE. They're strong, tough people, and they have to be tough because we're dealing with hardened criminals.
Right.
We're dealing with people, jails have been emptied into our country from all over the world, from Venezuela, where we had great success, you will admit, but from Venezuela, from the Congo in Africa, from all over the world. Jails, the jail population was emptied into our country. If we don't have strong people, you're not getting them out, and we're getting them out.
President Trump saying he feels sad about what happened to them, but we also have to protect our men and women in law enforcement. Saying, let's see what happens also. He's the one who's been saying there should be a full-fledged investigation. Meantime, everybody talking about the case of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Savannah Guthrie, and a very emotional, dramatic plea just a little bit ago, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings putting out, saying she may be abducted, essentially, and speaking directly to her potential kidnappers. Again, listen to this.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She's 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you, Mom. We love you.
What a powerful, powerful message. We love you, Mom. Come home safe. And kidnappers, get a hold of us. We want her to be free. Let's go to Al in Yonkers, line 2. Al, what do you make of this? This is just really powerful development tonight.
Yeah, definitely, Rita. Thank you for taking my call. My uncle, he's been passed away for a long time, but he used to be in the old Parkway Police in Westchester. Today, it's modern day. It's the Westchester County Police, but he was a lieutenant detective, and we were fairly close. And we used to have conversations. And I remember one time he told me, this is about 5-6 years before he passed away. we were talking about the Ramsey case with how a crime scene really has to be preserved. And unfortunately, in that case, it wasn't. And I just hope here that with this crime scene, at the Savannah's mother's house in Tucson, that nothing was compromised, because that's, means so much with clues and, where it could lead the investigators.
Al, I'm glad you brought up what you just did, because what I found stunning was tonight that suddenly they swarmed back to the house. Remember, they had the yellow tape up, then they took it down so much that there were media taking pictures of like the blood trail at the front of the house. I mean, I've never seen such suddenly broke down the scene, if you will, and made it vulnerable, like you just said. And then suddenly they came back there. Maybe there was a new clue or something happened, but then they came back up and put up the tape up again. And we're looking all over the place tonight there. And then they went over to the sister's house, maybe to prepare for this video, maybe for other things too. But regardless, as you're looking at all of that, you're right. Why would they break down the crime scene so quickly? A lot of times these crime scenes stay preserved so people can't touch it and contaminate it for weeks. This was like a matter of days. I actually was stunned. And the other thing, I'm just going to say something because I don't know this sheriff, so I'll just speak from my observations. This sheriff, he came out, it was yesterday when he made the statement and said, here's the update. We don't have much. I'm not going to be giving many more updates because last night I was on TV till 9 or 10 o'clock and I was so busy I couldn't really focus. I thought, shame on you. I'm glad he's getting the word out about the case, and somebody should. But the sheriff should be spending his entire time on the investigation. He shouldn't be out there doing media appearances from days to night, so much so that he's not keeping an eye on the crime scene. He's not keeping an eye maybe on other leads. He just seems like he sort of was kind of caught up in the moment and a little flat-footed, as opposed to saying, here's the deal. He seems clueless. That's just my impression. I'm not really impressed with him. How about you?
I agree with you fully. You know what? I think a lot of things, what happens when you're on the national scene now, the spotlight, he's probably overwhelmed, a lot of nervous energy. So he's human. So I just think possibly that has a lot to do with it.
It is, but the problem is, Al, the time is of the essence. And you understand that with the law enforcement in your family. And I'm someone, I have covered so many cases. You guys know me. I have been on television and in radio for many, many years. And I have covered, I don't know, maybe 1,000 crime cases in my life, where I've interviewed many people on all sides of it and many people in law enforcement that I know super well. And there seems to be a sort of a lack of focus by this, at least he was, I'll say the sheriff, because thank God the FBI came in and they're going to use their technology. But when you fear that somebody especially may have been taken, which they did think immediately from seeing the blood trail and knowing that she's someone who couldn't walk out on her own, all those things, that time is so of the essence. There can't be almost anything other than focused on that. Or you have a public affairs person dealing with the media saying, here's the information we know. Could you put it out there? Maybe somebody saw a clue, because often that is helpful too, to put out a public plea. But I feel like he let the crime scene go. Now we're hearing about this ransom that maybe or may isn't true. I tend to think it's probably true. At least they believe there's something credible about it, because it was enough for them to do this video tonight. Don't you agree, Al?
I agree fully. And, what they touched on before, the law enforcement officer person in the beginning of the segment of your program, what also hurts the case probably, it was a dark, desolate area. There's no street lights. It's somewhat similar to my uncle who passed away. We have his house up in Cape Cod, and it's the same situation. It's dark. There's no street lights. So that also doesn't help the investigation as it moves forward.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. Great points there, Al. Thank you very much. Also, the other thing, you too, and let's pray that she comes home safe and sound. Al, the other thing too, it triggered with me too, is the fact that those cameras apparently have been ripped off the door. So there were 2 cameras, I believe both of them in the front, but at least one of them on the front, maybe the other in the back, or the other one, a secondary one. But apparently those cameras have been ripped off. And the way the police described it when they were asked about it, it seems like they think that maybe the perpetrator may have taken them off, which could be a very sophisticated perpetrator, or it could be somebody who knows the house, which is, again, why you go back to a landscaper, a mailman, you go back to maybe a cleaning lady. Maybe somebody went in there recently for electrical or something else. Who knows? A construction person. You just don't know. Maybe that person or a friend of that person, or that person hired a whole bunch of laborers to work one day, maybe didn't know that particular individual, and they saw a picture of Savannah Guthrie. They were in economic crisis, or they just saw an opportunity to do something horrible. Who knows? But I think it's somebody close to the house, because to Al's point, you don't just go on some desolate street in the middle of Tucson, Arizona, and take an 84-year-old woman in the middle of the night. It had to be somebody that knew she was by herself, because you don't just snatch somebody, and what if there were other people in the house? So it's somebody, I think, with some proximity, and hopefully we find out soon. We're going to continue with the calls, guys. 1-800-848-9222.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and busts. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And it's another busy news night. So much going on with these anti-ICE activities, and also a plea from Savannah Guthrie and her siblings to what they believe may be a kidnapper holding their mother for ransom. Let's go to Alice in Ohio, line 2. Alice, your thoughts tonight.
Hi, Rita. I have a Ring doorbell on my townhouse, and I can archive some images that I capture. However, some security systems, and maybe with Ring too, depending on your subscription, they can be archived on the other side. And if this can be done, maybe the criminals didn't know this.
Well, and one of the things also, now the other issue, they're looking into the cloud because Nest, it's the company, obviously, it's owned by Google. And they are apparently, the FBI is talking to Google and trying to see if they can get access to it that way. But that's a great point, Alice. The fact also that both cameras were ripped out, that to me says something. Alice, do me a favor, stick with us because we're going to a hard break. But I want to hear your thoughts about how you think that happened.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Whether it's a movie night or just midday, Skinny Pop is a salty snack that keeps on giving. Made with just 3 simple ingredients for an irresistibly delicious taste and a large serving size that lasts. Deliciously popped, perfectly salted. Skinny Pop, popular for a reason. Shop Skinny Pop now.
Rita Cosby is on.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, we're going to talk to Alice in a moment more about the Savannah Guthrie mother case, Nancy Guthrie, and a dramatic plea tonight from the family. Also, Tom Homan came out a few hours ago and he announced that hundreds of federal agents will be leaving Minneapolis. This was a very big deal. Take a listen.
Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately we'll draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel.
That's a very big deal. 700. But yet, to Mayor Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, who nothing seems to be good enough, anything that's Trump is Trump derangement syndrome. Well, take a listen to what Jacob Frey said. No, we need all agents out. There's no negotiating with these loony lefties.
President Trump said in an interview that a softer touch is required. What do you say to President Trump?
He's right that a softer touch has been required. The drawdown of both federal agents as well as the implementation of body cameras is obviously a step in the right direction. That being said, the continued presence of 2,000 federal agents in a city that only has 600 police officers is still not de-escalation. So we have been very clear that Operation Metro Surge needs to end. The restoration of peace, of safety, the rejuvenation of small local businesses throughout our city depends on one main thing, which is for ICE to leave, and so that continues to be our position.
In other words, nothing will be good enough with these people. And as I mentioned, one of the big developments that's happened tonight is we have seen all these protesters setting up roadblocks against ICE, saying, I need to check your ID. Guess what? These people are checking ID. These people are wearing masks, but yet they don't want ICE to wear masks, and they don't want to have ID for voting. So you figure that out. I call it a bunch of hypocrites, but it's also downright dangerous. Also setting up barricades in roads, saying from here on out, nobody can come in. I mean, that is so dangerous, taking what they believe is sort of enforcement into their own hands. I put enforcement in quotes because it is clearly far from keeping us safe. And meantime, obviously, everybody talking about the big story with Nancy Guthrie tonight. The word that they believe maybe some of those ransom notes asking for millions of dollars in Bitcoin may be correct. By the way, the other thing, I was watching Nancy Grace earlier tonight, of course, a great crime investigative journalist. And Nancy was talking about the way the blood splatters were outside of Nancy Guthrie's home because, of course, police didn't really seal the crime scene for a long time. And so suddenly, if you look at the blood splatter, she believes that at the time that Nancy Guthrie left the house, that she was alive. And the way the blood splatters were, she said, it looks like it's on the tiles like somebody's walking. In other words, maybe her nose was bleeding. Maybe there was something tied to her, but it wasn't a severe bleed. It was just sort of droplets. So which signs that maybe she is alive. Let's pray she still is now. But they firmly believe that she was alive when she was taken from the house. There's not that much blood. And that's why they believe maybe she was injured, maybe beat up, maybe there was some sort of a violent struggle, but that she indeed was taken alive from the house and may have been vertical, not carried out laying down, but maybe helped walked out against her will outside that house. So, and it looks like it stops on the driveway. So it looks like somebody got her into a vehicle and drove off. So how come we haven't heard anything from neighbors in terms of somebody or some sound or something? Again, maybe those video cameras that we were just talking about on the door with Alice, maybe they can access them in the cloud because apparently they were ripped out. And in fact, I want to play this. This is Ashley Banfield, another great investigative journalist. And Ashley was talking with us earlier on Katz and Cosby and talked about how there were 2 cameras on that house. And apparently both of them were smashed out. Someone who maybe knew where they were. Take a listen.
It's obvious when you have a Nest cam at the front of the house. So many of us do. But the second cam indicates that somebody may have known that that second camera was there in order to locate it and smash it before being recorded on it. Now, we've also seen porch pirates who drape themselves to the point of anonymity, who are able to perpetrate their crimes without being identified. But look, we all know that there are other things that identify people other than your face, your gait, how you walk, your shape your size, your height. There are a lot of things that can help. I don't know if any of that was captured before the cameras were destroyed. I can also tell you, Rita, you've seen these pictures, how dark it is in this rural community in the Tucson area. There are no street lights. It is pitch black at night. And I don't know if Mrs. Guthrie left security lights on, or if she had garden lights or anything to illuminate someone who may have walked up on those cameras. I also don't know what level camera she has. You can buy regular ones or you can buy infrared. You can see people in the dark. So I have no idea what the quality or caliber of the environment or the cameras was, but I can tell you that my source said they were Nest cams and they were smashed.
That could be a big development. Let's go back to Alice in Ohio on line 2. Alice, your thoughts about the fact that there were these 2 cameras, and according to Ashley and other reporting, that they were smashed, it looks like, by the perpetrator. So that's interesting. They knew where those cameras were. That's telling.
Yes, it is, because it was mentioned that a stranger or strangers were seen in the neighborhood earlier. I don't know how much earlier, don't know how many people. So they knew, they were familiar with the area. They knew to bring tools. You just can't grab one of these cameras. You have to have something to knock it off or to loosen it. So there was some planning there. How did they get in without making a noise that other people didn't hear it? The Tucson Police Department, I'm disappointed in them. That's a fairly good-sized town.
Yeah, it is.
And I would think they'd be a little more sophisticated in guarding the crime scene. Why didn't they have people watching it? Why didn't they have people? There are officers that are ordered to sit in a car and just watch and while investigation is going on. This went on for too long.
I agree. And every moment counts, Alice. That's the other thing, too, as we're talking about everything that happened here. When somebody is kidnapped, potentially, because we're not sure, but when someone's kidnapped, every second counts. So you're right. There is no time to waste. Alice, thank you very much. And great points about you have to bring a tool to take those devices off. It's not like, oh, wow, there's a camera. So there was a lot of pre-planning, and also to be aware where that second one was. It says somebody who has a little bit of knowledge of the house, who clearly cased it out, maybe helped set up the cameras, maybe was a landscaper, maybe was a cook, maybe someone who came in and cleaned the house. Or a friend of theirs who visited, a relative, who knows? You can't rule anything out right now. Alice, thank you very much. Let's go to Mike on the Lower East Side on line 1. Go ahead, Mike.
How you doing, Rita? Yeah, to me, I looked at the blood stains. You got it, from the gravel to the step. It looks like they're walking forward. In other words, you got the big drop and then a little tiny drop. So the tiny drop fell from the big drop. So they're walking towards the door. I got a feeling they took her, let's say, to an ATM or somewhere, or maybe they told her to call somebody to bring money, and she refused. So they hurt her and they brought her back. So they brought her back injured. Okay, that's why.
Wait. So you believe what, they brought her back in the house?
That's what I think.
But that's a lot of activity, though, Mike. It's hard enough to get her out one time, let alone take her and then bring her back.
Then they changed their mind. Yeah. Well, that's why when you got the spray of blood right near the doormat, that looks like it's coming from the hair. Or it's a spray. All right. But before that, the droplets are moving forward. Okay. And then they went inside maybe, and then they changed their mind. They said, well, let's get out of here. So they take her out through the back. Okay. Now, infrared could be fooled. It could be that you could be underneath an aluminum sheeting, and it's not going to pick it up. Okay, so they need to go there with dogs. They need to do a search, a half-a-mile radius search over there with dogs. They got to call.
And by the way, Mike, they did do that tonight. You are so right. And in fact, that's exactly what they did do tonight. They actually brought out dogs and had a whole bunch of canines sniffing the area around that house. So you're right that maybe she may be close by, or maybe there's a clue. The other thing I thought of, Mike, was that maybe There was something in one of these so-called ransom notes that gave them credibility to put out that video pleading for their mom's life. That's one. And then also maybe some clue saying this is what we did, or this is what happened, or this is maybe there was some clue left behind there at the house to show, hey, we have your mom and we're credible. So there could be a whole bunch of things. Mike, really interesting points. We're going to look at that maybe they tried to get her to take money out. Maybe they brought her back. Certainly forensic experts can look at the way the trail is, but it looks like either way, it looks like it went from the driveway to the door and that they put her in some sort of a vehicle. So I'm wondering, where are like street cams, even though it's remote, where are street cams, and why can't they get access to the cloud to those cameras? Even if the camera's out, there should be something up there that they should be able to get access to on the house or streets or something. Mike, great point. Let's go to Tony in New Jersey, line 2. Go ahead, Tony, your thoughts.
Hi, Rita. Many people who have the cameras like I do, they also have a security alarm system. And I didn't hear any of that mentioned, because if your cameras, it's one of the big things we all worry about is if our cameras get dismantled. Now, the one on the front, we have the home camera in the front. We have on top of the house or in the back, different cameras for different positions of the house. When you're elderly, you don't pay that much attention to that as you get older. That should be her cameras and everything, and an alarm system should be checked in somewhere with other than her. And that's the failure here.
Yep. By the way, really that a lot of people are talking about that somebody younger should be looking at, accessing it. You brought up the alarm. I haven't heard a thing about any alarms in the house. We don't know. Look, a lot of people, elderly people, sometimes keep the back door open. You don't know. Maybe it was somebody who knew that the back door was open or knew where she put a key. You just don't know. There's a lot of things. It's really unclear at this point. If you look at the house, they say there was some sign clearly of force in there, clearly with the blood. But they don't know if like somebody broke down the door. It doesn't look like somebody broke down the door. So there are so many questions tonight. To me, my gut is, Tony, it's somebody who clearly was aware of who she was. You don't just go in and take, again, an elderly person, because it doesn't sound like they robbed her. It doesn't sound it sounds like they wanted to keep her alive if it was indeed somebody who kidnapped her. So that to me also should hopefully narrow the circle. Who's been around that house? Who's been around maybe a neighbor's house that would have had access to see an elderly woman in the other backyard? There are so many questions. Tony, thank you. Really great points. Let's go to Marjorie in Brooklyn, line 4. Marjorie, your thoughts tonight on this big news night.
Yes. Some seniors keep a supply of medicine. Sometimes it's short-term or long-term. If it's a chronic condition, they usually keep a long-term supply of their medication. It would be interesting to know if her medication is missing from the home, because I believe they planned this in advance, and whoever took her medication, if it was there, knew a lot of personal details about her medication. It took a lot of planning for this.
By the way, Marjorie, they're saying, I would glean that she doesn't have the medication, at least her own medication. One thing I thought of, and let's just put it this way. There are ways, especially if it's somebody who's a nefarious individual, maybe a cartel person or a crook, to maybe get some, off-label medication to keep her alive. And again, I'm praying that she is still alive, but we haven't heard, we've heard it sounds like her medication was left there, because they keep saying, she only has 24 hours. She needs to take this medication. So it's unclear, but it sort of sounds like her own personal medication at least was left behind. And that is not a good thing. But you would think that if somebody is indeed holding her for ransom, they're going to keep her alive and get that medication some other way and get it to her. And let's pray the fact that they seem to think there's something to this case. So if indeed that is it, that these letters may be real, maybe that's the best chance that she is still alive. And let's pray for that, guys. We're going to continue your calls, you guys, after the break. 1-800-848-9222. What do you think happened to Nancy Guthrie? And what do you make of that very powerful, unforgettable video that just came out tonight with Savannah Guthrie, the host of the Today Show, and her family pleading for their mother's life? Also, all these clues we talked about. Who do you think they should be looking at? And also, what do you make of President Trump saying we're going to try the softer approach when it comes to dealing with cracking down on migrants in this country? 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And everybody, this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Kenosha, Wisconsin, where in honor of his 100th birthday, Kenosha's mayor declared January 30th as Edward Maurer Day in honor of the veteran's birthday and his service in World War II. The veteran was born in January of 1926 in Kenosha, and he served in the U.S. Navy from 43 to 45 as a machinist aboard the USS Wadsworth with the Pacific Fleet. He then returned to Kenosha, Wisconsin after his service, where he met his wonderful wife. He also remained active in the community as a lifetime member and post commander of the local VFW post. How beautiful is that? And he also did regular fellowships with other veterans at the Festival Heroes Cafe. He said his secret to life, he offered some advice. You have to change. You can't stay idle. Just keep moving forward. Sounds like great advice. And everybody support America's military and first responder heroes. Donate just $11 a month to make an incredible difference in the lives of our great heroes and their families. The best way to do that is to check out the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are the best. Check them out at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go to Michael in Queens on this big news night. Michael, your thoughts?
Yes, hello. Yes, hello, Rita. How are you, ma'am?
Good. What do you
think? Taking my call. I think this on a logical deduction. Number one, the lady, if she was abducted.
You mean Nancy Guthrie?
Yes, ma'am. If the lady was abducted, if this case is actually verifiable and it actually is an actual case that has happened, there is no possible way, just on the basis of logic, that this could have been a random act. In other words, this is an 84-year-old woman. No one who is going to go ahead and actually commit such a crime, such an act, is going to go ahead and not consider the possibilities of a disastrous result should you try to abduct a woman of that age, an elderly woman. So I have no doubt that these individuals, if a individual or these individuals, meaning singular plural, would already have an understanding of this woman, I would understand she had prior conditions and what they would have to do to enact the security of those conditions, because they wouldn't commit this act to not succeed.
Wait, in other words, get medication? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Right. Make some preparations.
Sure of it. If there is medication left there, that would be intentional to look as if though there was a risk factor that she would die, because the fact that they want Bitcoin and money means they want a quick, readily transferable and then reroutable course of currency for.
That's very interesting. Michael, you got to call back tomorrow night because you have some great points. We have a hard break here, but you're right. And there are ways to also get medication. And they certainly, let's hope, want to keep her alive.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
If you're thinking about changing schools, why wait? At Manhattan University, love those guys. You don't have to start over. With transfer-friendly pathways, your credits count, and you keep moving forward. From day one, you're part of Jasper Nation, preparing for the real world. And with New York City just a train away, opportunity is everywhere. Ready to move forward without missing a step? Visit manhattan.edu/transfer and enroll today. Manhattan University. Don't start over, move forward.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time, 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.